Hello, welcome to the audio-guided tour of the California Sacramento Train Museum, which shows off the history of the great trains that used to be within our nation. And my name is Joe, and my co-host is
Dan.
And we start out with the creation, the very most basic theory of trains, which is that there's great engines that were constructed by humans at some point in the past. The reason that humans created all these trains was to extract energy from the...
It's for clam powder.
No, it's to extract energy from the Great Rail Ring.
The very first train is called the CP. You can if you were visually seeing this, very clearly see that's called the CP train. It's marked CP. That's what else could that mean except clam powder?
No, okay, let me interject here. So rails are known for having lots of energy within them. And one of the key pieces of evidence that rails have energy is... Okay, here, how about you explain first?
Okay, so rails are objects. Objects do not hold energy they do technically, but not to use for the train. The wheels and the tracks interact in a way, not to generate energy or whatever. It's actually to go to a destination, right? There's this thing called manifest destiny, where back then, before they could think for themselves, they had to manifest ideas. They had to bring it to life. That's why it's called manifest destiny, because they have to imagine where they're going, right? Trains are the metaphor and for this time period, because they go places with hamsters, right? See, clam powder wasn't just an illegal trade back then. Clam powder was the way of making trains work, because it wasn't like the trains were fueled by this so-called clam powder. It was actually because of hamsters. Because hamsters love clam powder, right? Isn't that right?
Okay, let me know. Oh, no, let me explain. So, there's no evidence for any of that. We've never found any clam powder or any hamsters at any of the trades.
If you let me finish, right? So, the reason why there's no clam powder is because the hamsters ate them all. Because hamsters, like I previously said, hamsters
love... What
about
hamsters? Where are the hamsters now?
Well, that's the nice part, right? The way trains are fueled is with these so-called hamsters, right? And these hamsters, they're put into balls. I'm sure you're very familiar with the hamster balls. And these balls are spinning. That's generating electricity, power, energy for the train. And these hamsters, when they're rolling in it, right? They're rolling in it. They're creating this energy, and there's only one way to keep them going. It's just incinerate them. That's what the big smokestack at the front is the hamster incineration.
But there's too many hamsters. They need too many hamsters for that to work.
Exactly. So the back cart, as you can see of the CP train, was full of hamsters and clam powder. They just dumped clam powder on.
Let me cut in here. So, all of those mechanisms that my co-host Dan just explained aren't to create energy, but to instead compensate for it. Because the rails, the Great Rail Network, used to have immense energy coming from it. So in order to properly extract that energy, they needed to build these advanced mechanisms of wheels and parts that would fight against the energy, like friction.
You don't need to fight against energy. You just use energy. That's why.
No, but it was too much energy. It was such a powerful system. That's why people spent all...
Where's the energy coming from then?
The Great Rail Ring.
That's not how that works.
Okay. So, you have anything else to say about this room?
Yeah. So, going back onto the factual side of things, whatever the hell that guy was talking about, the thing with so you might be curious, okay, well, there's a giant dumpster basically of hamsters and clam powder. How did they utilize them? How did they get them in the balls? Well, it's simple. They put the clam powder in the balls, and they grab the hamsters and just kind of throw them in this little pit. It's a little fire pit, not one that will incinerate them. That's a different place, but they'll throw them in, right? Kind of like you throwing coal, and then this guy that does it, or whoever it is, right, his job role is called the demolisher, right? The demolisher grabs a handful of hamsters and throws them in, and there's pre-made hamster balls full of clam powder. So the hamsters automatically go into these balls.
There was no evidence people were on the trains.
Okay, well, no, because someone had to operate these trains.
No, they operated themselves because they compensated.
No, that's you need a human to operate these trains, right? That's why there's literally a human in the first CP train.
No, it's because people misinterpreted it.
No, it's a human model to represent the accuracy of history. This is a museum.
Okay, let's move on. We'll head up the ramp and towards the next room. And you can even see here to the left, like they actually deconstructed some sections of rails in order.
Constructing it, actually.
No, they deconstructed it because it was too much power, and they couldn't compensate for all of it, so they needed to deconstruct some of the rails.
I don't think that's true because like the guy is literally hammering in like I think like one of the boards, you know.
Okay, well think of it like this: the difference between hammering in a nail and hammering out a nail is actually very similar and almost identical. So it would be impossible to know.
It's very clearly he's like swinging down to hammer it.
Or is he swinging up?
That doesn't take out the nail though.
No, but because you'd be slowly pulling out the nail by hammering in reverse, you see.
The side of the hammer to use the nail.
Okay, here. Heading into the next room, you'll see all of these great train cars. And you may be wondering, why did people create all these train cars after creating the train engines? The reason is to
transport clam people. Because
No, okay. How about I'll give you a chance here to explain your explanation and make it make any sense.
Okay. Will make any sense. This is recorded history. So let's establish something. CP is not short for just clam powder. It's short for clam people. Because these carts, you might notice, have people-shaped seats. But it wasn't just the people riding in the seats. No, it was also these so-called clam people. These clam people, they come from the ocean, right? The ocean of clam people, right? So, as you can see, maybe on your left, you might see a train cart. It's beautiful, nice architecture, but rows upon rows of seats. See, the clam people were of plenty. They needed many places to go, and
No, how many? Is there any evidence there was more than one clam person?
yes. So these clam people, they sit alongside. No, they didn't. Because think about it like this: if you saw a clam person, you'd be pretty scared, right? You'd be like, "What? That's a clam person." It wasn't segregation; it was purposeful.
No, I think it's crazy if we saw a clam person because they don't exist.
No, because the thing with clam people, right, is that they're not quite people, not quite clam person, right? There's a clam person. So we're so used to eating these so-called clams, and if you're in the illegal business of clam powder, you'd be snorting these so-called clams. And so seeing a person made of these clams, these clam people, it really this whole transportation system, because what these carts are is an evolution of train. You can agree on it.
Okay.
Carts are an evolution of trains, correct?
No, they're symbiotic. They both need each other.
No, they're an evolution. They're like the original trains did not have these carts.
Okay, let me explain this. So these weren't meant to transport clam people, but to extract more energy, because the Great Rail Ring wanted to destroy all humans, and it thought it could do that.
Why would it have seats then?
No, it has seats to trick the rail ring into sending more energy. For example, if you look behind you at your left, an item labeled Standard GOG. And what this thing does is it was one of the first experiments at extracting energy from the rails before they developed the engines and before they developed the great train cars.
So that is a wheel, right? Like a normal wheel. Like, as you can see, it's called Standard GOG, right? As Joe said.
Proper pronunciation.
Yeah, because the reason why it's standard is because you use the wheels on the train carts to move forward. That is something we can both agree on, correct?
Yes, they did move.
Okay.
They did move. They definitely moved.
Well, they moved with the wheels because that's how the wheels were. They used the wheels to move on the tracks.
But they also extract energy.
Okay, well, they didn't do just like they didn't do that. Like they don't do. There's the whole thing. It's not revolved around some weird energy extraction. Like these are just objects. This is if you look to your left again, that is a steel wheel.
Okay, let's move on here. If you head to the right side, going between the small gap between the westward wall and the yellow engine, you'll find what we today call a station. And the purpose of these stations is very closely entwined with trains. And looking inside...
Train station, yes.
Okay, if you know train stations so well, how about you explain it?
Okay, well, as you can see, there in this model, correct, there is a person, a human, not a clam person, a human in here. And what this woman is doing is she has a pair of headphones and a microphone extended, right? So what could this woman possibly be doing in this train station? Well, there's actually a misconception because these train stations, they're not here for the trains. These are just here they just happen to be here where the trains stop.
They need the trains.
The train station is actually for podcasts, right? These podcasts, that's why she has a microphone. It's to host her podcasts, right? In your podcast, I don't know what she's talking about.
Okay, podcast. So there's some evidence that they were able to send and receive audio at these stations, but that was not for making podcasts. Because if you look closely, they also have a machine that we nowadays call the type buttoner, and they also have the zip zapper button machine.
I think you're making these on the spot.
No, these are historical terms that have been created by our fellow archaeologists. And the purpose of these machines was to game. These gamers used the great power...
That's not a gamer.
The great power of the rail rig to game. You may not think this is a gamer, but this is the original gamer. This was the original gaming dress that was used for playing these games that used all the surplus energy from the Great Rail Ring. And like these games, like they never would have existed. Like nowadays we use oil for our energy, but back then they used the Great Rail Ring.
Well, they used hamsters. They didn't use some Great Rail Ring.
Okay, well then, hamsters. There's no way they'd have enough energy. They need it from somewhere else other than the hamsters.
The clam powder. The clam powder provided energy for the hamsters.
No, it was from the Great Rail Ring. There's no other source that the energy could have been coming from.
It's not just hamsters. It's hamsters.
Okay, moving on, if you head directly westward, you'll see a small staircase. And you'll walk by a wall with a bunch of people. There weren't people on the trains, though. Because...
That's why there's so many model people.
So, I'm going to guess that you have your argument that the trains look like they were built for people. As coming up after the staircase on your left, you will see a sitting car and a kitchen car. And various areas and a dining room within the room. These were not for people. But these cars and these rooms meant for people were created to extract more energy from the rails.
So you're saying that these people-shaped chairs are not for people? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, they're not, like they weren't meant for anybody.
Okay, so these people-shaped chairs that they put here is not for people. Let's really think about it.
No, they're not for anybody. They're not for anybody. Not just... Let me guess, you're going to say clams were in them?
No. Well, yes, but no. Because, they wouldn't just have chairs for the sake of, aura, okay? The whole point of these is to house people to sit in. And so, think about this. I mentioned before that clam people and people were on the same train, correct? Well, as Joe just mentioned, there was a kitchen. This kitchen...
Yes.
Was to produce food for the people. But the thing is that before the DoorDash cart was invented, there was this issue, right? And that was that people needed food to eat because humans need food, right?
Not on trains though, because they aren't there.
Okay, well they are on trains, and when they're not on trains, they need food. So when they're on these trains, clam people were used to be eaten because people eat clams, right? So by logic, clam people were also in. So they were sent over to the kitchen, one by one, whenever someone needed it. And then they would just be cooked up for serving. This is a big contention in history. This is a moral dilemma, whether it was right or not, to eat these clam people.
Okay. Let me move on from this, because, again, the clam people are not real. There's no evidence they're real. And if you head to the end of the walkway and you go down this staircase
for clam people,
and you'll go up another staircase, we'll get to the real way, the real thing that people were eating. DoorDash. In this era of history, the sole source of food was DoorDash. And the great DoorDash network, it was the creation of this food item called DoorDash. And it's very unclear what it was, but it was consumed by millions upon millions of people. And you may be wondering, how did they create all this DoorDash substance? Well, it was the great energy from the rails combined...
No, the DoorDash was created by people because they farmed it. This is food, DoorDash food, you know? This is different from the DoorDash that you're used to, though. DoorDash, back in my time, in these carts, was actually clam, right?
Oh, is the clams again?
Because think about this. If people were eating clam people, then eventually you'd run out of clam persons. So to supplement this, there are these giant blocks of transparent-ish, like, as you can see on your left.
It's called ice.
It's not ice, first off. Ice looks different. It's more like blue. These is the color of clam white, a color specifically invented to describe these so-called ice cubes that this guy said. No.
It's just ice.
So the clam powder was compacted and frozen into these clam cubes, or CC. And these clam cubes were used to cook in the kitchen. Kind of like how you think of salt cubes, or sugar cubes, my bad.
No, okay, let me explain what the ice cubes were actually for. They were used to create DoorDash. Because you see, when the great energy from the rails combined with ice, it would acceleratedly create DoorDash.
That's not how DoorDash is made. Okay.
No, that's how it's made. Okay. Do you have any other key points to say on DoorDash?
Everything Joe says is false about DoorDash.
Everything
I say is
everything Dad said was false. Anyways, we are now gonna move on, heading back out the same way that we came in, down the staircase. And you'll head out to the main center room. This is another main location highlighted in this museum, because here we can see a piece of the original Great Rail Network. So if you look closely at this bit of rail here that's generating the energy, you'll notice...
doing that at all, by the way.
No, you'll notice a faint shimmer around its edges. That is the remnant of the energy that it used to create.
That's literally a light.
No, that isn't called a reflection. It's called the shimmer of the great energy from the ring. And another reason that this proves it's real is that we don't really have evidence modern day of how powerful the Great Rail Network was, because it's been cut up and fractured so much.
The reason why there's no evidence is because it wasn't like a thing. There was no energy being created on these rails.
No, it isn't a thing because it doesn't exist anymore. It used to exist, though.
No, it just never existed in the first place.
No, it used to exist. It just doesn't exist anymore.
Well, no, because you can't just say it doesn't exist anymore and but it might have existed. You don't know.
What are you gonna say, that clam people used to exist, but we don't know about them anymore because they all died off?
No, because clam people are still around. You just don't see them.
Where are they then? Point out one clam person within the city right now.
Well, if you look on your left, there's actually a clam person somewhere there. Because really, there are actually clam people everywhere. Because what is a clam person but not a person? Correct? Because part of clam people is the people. So a big civil rights movement, it's a whole different thing. It's unrelated to the train. So we will not go into it. But there's a whole civil rights movement around clam people and their integration into human society. And as a result of that, you might not notice that some person has a great descendant of these clam people.
There's no evidence of this. Okay, we're gonna move on right now. Take your final looks at the rail and see that powerful energy emanating from it.
Single shimmer of energy, by the way.
And we're gonna head to the right towards the large silver train, but not we're not gonna go in that train though, because trains weren't meant for people.
They actually were. That's literally a dining cart.
Okay, well, it was the trick the train into giving them more energy, as I stated earlier.
It was for the people to eat the clams.
Okay, and we'll head past the information booth guy. This guy is, I think that's kind of like they made some mistakes in the history.
Yeah,
he shouldn't be there. And if you turn to your left, you will see the most important piece of evidence. This cargo cart. So this cargo cart, it contains the only surviving piece of evidence that they even stored the energy from the Great Rail Network. Because, as you can see, these boxes are very strong, very rigid. Strong enough to hold in the energy.
It's to hold luggage.
No, it's to hold energy.
It's very clearly just a luggage cart.
No, they had to be this strong to hold in all the energy that they were creating.
That is a literal box.
Okay, no, but the scientists did tests on one of these boxes and calculated that they should be strong enough to contain over 1 megawatt of the energy.
Well, just because it can contain something doesn't mean it can energy. Why would you need strong boxes to contain energy? You know what else strong boxes? Lots of luggage. and be able to survive a lots of impact.
No, that doesn't make any sense. Because think of this: people weren't on the trains, as I said earlier.
So they would need luggage.
No, but they were on the trains. They were on the trains, so this proves that they were storing energy. There's no evidence of the energy because it was used instantly, but this was storing the energy, and there's like none of them contain energy, and like most of these have been lost, probably because there was so much energy in them.
I don't think that's any of that.
Okay, we're gonna go up the stairs now to the right. So heading to the right, there is a staircase, and it goes up. We're gonna go up it. And the next area that we're heading to right now is another very notable one in the development of the great energy train ring network. Back in the day, they actually wouldn't get tired on stairs due to the power of the great train rail ring.
No, I think they're just more fit.
No, I used to be more fit when it existed too. And if you head into the right after going up the stairs, you will immediately see a great wall with hundreds upon hundreds of model trains. And these existed to attempt to calculate the best train models to extract the most energy from the great rail ring.
I think they're just there to be models of trains.
No.
I think these are very...
No, these are vital.
They're not vital at all.
These are vital, as if you turn to your left, you'll see this great electronic machine, which was used to calculate which trains would perform the most power.
No, because as you can see on said machine, there's switches, many switches, levers.
Is there any evidence for that?
I mean, you can literally look at it and see the switches. Right?
Okay, keep going.
Switches have numbers on them, right? And what were these numbers? Well, think about it. It goes up pretty high, right? You know how many? There's a lot of seats in a train. These were switches for clam people, right? We're going back to this, yes, because the thing is that these clam people, this operation station wasn't just used to decide. It was basically a way to decide which clam person was going to be eaten today, because there was a selection. Because they were real and they were selected selectively to be eaten by humans. This whole station was made specifically for the operator, who we call the claminator, to host his decisions.
Okay, let me guess what the acronym for the claminator was. CM?
Yes.
Okay. After seeing that high-quality naming scheme, in the middle of the room you can see a model that they used to more accurately measure how much energy they could extract from also the construction of surrounding infrastructure, which also had an effect on the amount of power generated through the Great Rail Ring. And heading through on the left, you can see some tools used to create all these models. And farther down the hallway, past the large 45-degree mirror, we begin to see some of the more advanced scientific models used to calculate what system would create the most power from the rails.
And not particularly, they're just here to show as a part of the museum to represent what was actually going on. These aren't just...
No, these are artifacts.
They're not artifacts. These are created to represent representations. These are models.
No, these are serious things.
Like, they are serious things, but they aren't scientific, recreations for the sake of scientific purposes. They are just models to show off.
Okay, well then explain what this model is showing off right here. The second one to the left with the water.
So let's think about this. There is water, as you can see. And if there's water, that means two things. That means there are clams, because clams come from water. Because think about this. If clams didn't come from water, why are they in the ocean? Because clams are in water, right? And as you can see, this pond isn't just any pond, it's log pond, because there are logs in it. Now, this is one of the most vital parts of clam history, because the thing about the log pond is that it was called the log pond because there are logs in it, right? They put logs in it, and then afterwards they called it the log pond because the logs were in the pond. So it just kind of made sense, because log pond is actually a pond made of logs with water in it.
You're getting too off track here. The pond with logs in it was a model that was found to generate massive amounts of power from the rail network.
Well, it's not connected to the rail networks.
No, but it's surrounded like the aura. Remember, as I showed you earlier, the faint shimmering aura around the rails.
Aura from the log pond. It's literally a pond.
No, but the aura used to be more powerful from the rails, and you see it pulling energy from the log pond.
Because let's dive a little bit more into clam history, because if clam were water, then this pond is curious. Because what is this water? Is it salt water? Is it fresh water? No, log water. Okay, it is log water. Now the clams in this log water, let's think about this. A great part of clam culture is log water, because it's treated as sacred compared to your fresh water or salt water.
Do you want me to explain what water actually is?
No.
Okay, I'll get to it later.
This is log water, okay, and so it's sacred to these clam culture, okay, and the clam culture, these were created by humans. That this log water, this log pond, right? It's called the log pond because there's logs in it. So the humans, they created this as an offering to the clams, as a means of peace, because for centuries beforehand, humans have been eating these clams on the passenger trains. And so I don't know about you, but it is a great debate among archaeologists of how moral this is in terms of
if there were clams.
No, the clams are real in terms of their impact on clams, right? So a big part of this log pond is as a peace offering, because as you can see there in this model, there are humans on top of the log, and this was to represent it's the humans on top of it. And the reason why is because the humans are actually being fed to the log pond in this model, because as you can see, these are human sacrifices to the log water. Now, that's strange, because after so many centuries of humans eating clams and clam people, now the clam people are eating humans. This was a pivotal part of history where suddenly the blur between human and clam, as they became one.
Okay, let me explain this. Because the big thing here, as you said earlier, the type of water it is. This isn't salt, this isn't like sugar water or something. No, it's clams live in heavy water. That's very well known, that's defined. No, it's very...
They live in water.
And this is a lake of light water. Because if you look at it, it's a light color of water.
That's also wrong. Is actually the color.
Okay, well so the log water with the logs in it, that just makes more energy. Like the entire idea. The entire. Well, that's the name that we've given it though, but it isn't actually log water. It's the light water that happens to have logs in it.
Okay, whatever you say.
The people, as you can see, there's actually no people in the water. They're just standing on the logs, making no evidence that. Okay, now we'll keep moving. We'll keep moving.
All the people that were sacrificed.
No, it doesn't make any sense. I'll skip forward anymore right now. No, I'm cutting. And so again, it's just like light water. There's nothing more notable about it, because there's no way that it could be log water. It doesn't make any sense. There's just that there's logs in it. Okay, here on the left, after heading further through the museum, you'll see a red door with a mysterious pattern of text on it. This represents the boundary of all knowledge. We cannot continue past this point, just reinterpret what we already have.
Right. This out of every single nonsense that you've been spitting out this entire time, this is actually one of the correct things. This door of knowledge, it's like, yes, it is correct that this is some sort of infinite bound of knowledge. Who knows what's behind it? I mean, that's so-called mysterious language. We don't really know what that. Maybe it's Latin. It could be author Z, and I'm assuming personnel is persons, right? And then on Lee, there must be some sort of author of this door, or maybe the creator of it. Maybe. So let's think about what that means, right? Maybe in Latin or whatever language that is, it's some sort of person. So what are people, right? Well, people can be both people or clam people.
Okay.
So maybe in this mysterious door is the answer to what clam people really are. We don't know. We really don't. But maybe we shouldn't know, because what really clan people are is people, because we should be treating them like people, because they're clan people.
Okay, well, if they were real, if clan people were people, I would say yes, we should treat them like people, but they aren't real.
Okay, well, they are real. I think you dismissing them as real is like pretty disrespectful, actually, to the clan people and whatever clan personnel are behind this so-called clan red door.
Okay, why is it a clan red door then? How did you figure that out?
Because of the whole clan person connection.
Okay,
maybe on leave.
Well, I'm a person too, so that am I not like a door could say person on it, and you'd say it says clan person.
Well, it says personnel. Isn't like as you said, it's a mysterious language, so we're not really particularly sure like on the specifics of it. Only on leave would really know, and he might be a clan person.
Okay. Anyways, continuing the tour, if you head back away from the red door, you start to go down this big ramp thing, and there's more. This stuff doesn't even matter, actually. Like, all this stuff on the walls, it doesn't matter. It's because the Great Rail Ring, again, it made all the energy. That's why they made the trains, so they could extract more energy from it. And it was this great system. They made a ton of energy. Nowadays we use oil, though, but back then they used, like, the Great Rail system, and it just made a lot of sense, and it worked all the time. Why have you gone so silent, Dan?
I mean, like this makes sense, honestly. Like the fact that you just kind of ignore all of this vital information. Actually, it just makes sense that you're an actual moron.
No, I think you're ignoring the vital information. Anyways, so it's me, main host Joe, signing off right now with this definitive conclusion to the history of the Train Museum, an explanation of what it means and why it was created. And no, there's facts.